Call to order this special meeting, December 27th at 6 p.m. here at Lathrop City Hall. Start with the roll call.
Chairman Jeremy Coe.
Present.
Vice Chair John Gish.
Present.
Director Toshi Ishihara.
Here.
Director Mark Elliott.
Here.
Director Gloriana Rhodes.
Here.
Okay, would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Standing. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, discussion and selection of the Fire Board Executive Board positions, which was previously in the last week's agenda.
Mr. Board Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that we go with past tradition, and I nominate myself as chairman and Director Mark Elliott as vice chairman.
I second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, but I think discussion is in order first.
So there can be a motion and a second, and then room for discussion and
Okay.
deliberation.
Okay,
But there is a motion and a second on the floor, and that will have to be voted on at the end of the discussion.
very good. Okay, I have a motion and I have a second. Is there any discussion?
Nobody has any discussion?
I'll discuss it after you, or whoever wants to go
No,
first.
start to your left.
Chairman, yeah, no, my thoughts are, you know, it should be rotated, and I think that the board is kind of already kind of discussed, you know, conflicts. We all have different types of conflicts, and I think we have to, if we have a conflict and we have an issue, definitely discuss it before the issue comes up, or even before we vote, most definitely, you know, separate yourself from the issues that come up. So I have more confidence, you know, at the very highest level as far as conflicts, because I know that that's already been dealt with at the board. We kind of alluded to that last time. I have no problem with the motion, but I think it should be rotated. I think it's very important to keep the rotation, unless there's other reasons not to. And anybody that doesn't want to rotate in or out of it, we should definitely discuss that. But I'm all for the rotation, and like I say, me going vice chair or Tosh, I have no problems with that, because we're kind of elected technically at the same time. So I have no big, huge reason to not be part of the vice chair. I just want to reiterate my experience before with the council too. There was issues that came up with conflict, and we discussed those, because there was things that were just, you couldn't be within so far close to your house, but then other things, because we are related, and there's a lot of different people that we were, you know, we come in, we just have to question them. And if there is, I think it's always easier having 5 people here, that we, you know, walk out the room and let the issues be discussed and voted upon, and it's just cleaner that way. So that's my my opinion on the issue. Thank you, Chair.
No, I go along with that, too. I think we, you know, stay with the tradition of rotating, because, you know, it gives each of us individual a chance to be a chair and run a meeting. I mean, as far as chair, does not have the full vote. I mean, it's the vote of all 5 of us. And, you know, because in the planning commission, as chair, it was my turn to become chair, you know, and it's a good experience for each one of us to have, you know. So, you know, when that motion was made, the vice chair to move up, you know, and like I say, Mark would come next on that rotation. So, no, I think it's, you know, I'd like to see that rotation and give people the experience to be a chair. And if they have conflict, they know if they have a conflict, they can step down, because we're not a board that do the negotiation. We have the attorney to do those things, and rely on the chief to do, you know, so This is what I have to say.
Any other discussion?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was the one that threw the motion out, and I was flabbergasted that it created so much turmoil, and, what can I say? In my mind, it wasn't about not rotating or anything else, but it's interesting that that same day I had mentioned to the chief that he has actually done such a good job that the board has kind of forgotten him. In other words, we send him out there and we kind of leave him alone, and I see the chairperson as that individual because of the fact that I was seeing that in the next year there might have been there will be some big issues with French Camp. My thoughts were, and Chief, we had that discussion that same day. I wanted to make sure that he had a chair that he could go to with anything. But I feel very comfortable because I didn't think about, he can always go to the vice chair. In terms of conflicts of interest, we've struggled with them for the last 10 years that I've been here. And the problem is precisely that we do not have an attorney that we can share that with. And I don't want to do that with the chief because then the liability of the board member falls on the chief. But I did talk to the chief this afternoon, and I expressed that there needs to be an avenue where when things come up, or even prior, like I'll give you an example, and I can only use myself, but I will use some other ones too. Through this process, it was stated that I always vote on River Islands. But the reality is, I do not work for River Islands. I have never worked for River Islands, and I have no intentions of ever working with River Islands. In fact, technically, I'm retired. But when October comes, I get the bug, and I work for them for a short period of time, and sometimes in December. But you know what? While I checked that with an attorney a few years back, things have changed. So it wouldn't be a bad idea for me to sit down with an attorney and share that. I know that we shared it in terms of when we had another board member about the relationships with children or relatives. I know that it was also brought up that somebody else may work with a bigger entity. And I remember when I was on the city council, there were certain things that, for example, there are certain things that if you are a planning commissioner, you can vote here, but you can't vote over there. So just clarity, because we don't have the attorney that will sit here with us and guide us. So with that being said, I did talk to the chief. I'm not going to bring it up because that's an agenda item separate, but it would be good for us to clear our heads of that. Because at the end of the day, I'm sorry if I hurt feelings, but at the end of the day, sitting up here, it is the district that we have to protect, and we have to protect our employee. And we do put a lot on our chief. We asked them, we asked them to interpret law. We asked him to do all kinds of things that if he was in a city, the city would do. If he was in a county, the county would do. So I think that at this point, I've always been confident of Director Gish, and in my mind, I don't know, maybe the mother in me came out because I was also trying to protect the board members. I'll put it to you this way. Many years ago, we put on the agenda, at the beginning of the agenda, the Declaration of Conflicts of Interest because of one reason, and we discussed it publicly. We wanted to take the burden away from the board and put it directly on that board member. So if it ever happened that we ended up in a situation, then the district would disconnect, protect itself, and then the board member would have to turn around and protect themselves. But you know what? We're all adults, and if that ever happens, we still have that. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm sorry if I, upset anybody, but understand this. I've got 20 years of service, and I will always do what is best for the district and for the employees of the district, regardless of how anybody takes it in any other way. But with that, those are my comments, and I have been in communication with the chief, over and over again, in the last few days, and I look to him to evaluate some of the things that I have brought forth, like looking at a policy that puts 3 people out there having to discuss things and it gives a wrong impression, or looking, and he was, as always, the chief was very good about, yeah, you got a point, let's look at this. I'll come back to that, but again, that's another agenda item, so I'm going to leave it at that. And Chief, you've done a great job, but we need to support you more. That is definitely something we need to do.
I think
Gish.
everybody hit the key points, so I won't ramble on.
Okay. All I would have to add is my position hasn't changed. To me, it doesn't matter who sits in this position. As it's been stated, the 5 of us have an equal vote. It doesn't matter who's leading the meetings. So my position hasn't changed. It doesn't matter who sits here. The issue that I have is, like you said, everything I do is in the best interest of the district. And bringing us together for a special meeting for this very subject that we've already took a vote on, I don't think is in the best interest of the district, because it's taking members of our staff away from their family. It's taking members of the city away from their family, and there's a cost for us all to be here. So we're all adults, and I think this should have been all handled last week and not have buyer's remorse maybe the next day or hours later after a decision was made by the 5 of us. And it's a little embarrassing. I'm a little embarrassed for the 5 of us to be here at our taxpayers' dollars to discuss something that was discussed last week. And we all agreed, 5-0 vote for one thing. And it sounds like someone's ego got hurt during that last week's meeting, and that's why we're all here at someone else's expense. That's my comments. We have a motion, we have a second. Any public comment?
At this time?
Okay, roll call.
Director Gloriana Rhodes,
Yes.
Director Elliott,
Yes.
Director Ishihara,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Gish,
Yes.
Chairman Coe.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and switch positions, and John Gish will now run the rest of the meeting as chair.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
I guess you go over there. Switch places. It's nice neighbor.
Yes. It should be in your agenda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm going to have Becky Ariel going to do the presentation on that.
Thank you, Chief. Oops. So item 5.1, seeking the approval of purchase for Fire Board Directors tablets. The fire chief is seeking to provide the Fire Board Directors with a tablet for ease of document sharing and board meeting documents access. Staff has previously discussed providing tablets for each board director to enable ease of receiving, viewing documents provided during each board meeting. As we move forward with technology, staff has found it easier to reference previously presented materials and documents via electronic media. Recently, board directors have also mentioned being able to reference certain types of notes potentially needed to track progress of goals and objectives and/or other past items. Each director will have the ability with the tablet to access department emails, entire board meeting packets, policies, procedures, MOUs, and anything that is distributed at board meetings. Also, you'll be able to retain any notes that you made on a board packet. Staff is seeking to provide and set up each tablet with the ability to write on all board documents presented at meetings with the Surface Pen and compatible software programs. So those that are used to taking regular handwritten notes on the board packet items can still do so. It will just all be on your actual tablet, and you'll be able to reference those items at any time. So staff is seeking to purchase 5 Microsoft Surface tablets, which will also enable the administration in moving towards digital records and, most importantly, reduce the paper use and waste. Currently, administration's copy or print charges per month total an approximate average of $472 a month, or $5,664 a year, and approximately $1,100 a year in paper. So $67.64 is what we usually pay a year, and that's just the paper and toner, not including the actual copy machine or staff time that goes into putting together the board packets. So with board documents accounting for nearly 50% of these copies and possibly more during budget process timeframes, the tablets would pay for themselves within a short amount of time. So at this point, staff is requesting the board to authorize the fire chief to purchase 5 Microsoft Surface tablets with appropriate tools and accessories for the director's use. The fiscal impact we're looking at is approximately $11,500, which would come out of fire facility fees. Any questions?
A couple things to add, though, before we get down there. As we move through different times of meetings and so forth, so I just want to make sure everybody is perfectly clear. One of the other benefits of this is that you will have a Surface that when you're here connects to the internet here, and you can access your folder, which will be your folder that you have associated with your device. You can also write on your big screens that you'll have in front of you. There'll be software so you can write on the screen also in front of you, not just the tablet while you're at the meeting and taking notes. One of the big things that we really have learned about over the years and is really becoming more prevalent now is that all your personal emails are open to public request. And with those, there is no policy that we have that you can delete anything from this department. So if you have deleted anything from your personal account, you've kind of violated that public request action. So all your personal emails, your personal email accounts, and it's been cumbersome to kind of access your email account from our department from home on your personal computer. The device will allow you the VPN in. You'll be able to access all your information. You'll also be able to use Outlook to go through and look at all your emails that are from your LM Fire account. And so everything is there. Nobody can now ask for your personal information, ask for your personal email, for your phones, for texting. We're going to look at getting phones for the board. It's not because we want to spend money. What we want to do is minimize your liability out there of people looking for information and then requesting it. And so the fact is, it may not be your fault, it may not be your intention, but you delete your account because you're trying to save space on your phone, because I've done that. At the end of the day, you may have deleted something that really is open for public request because it's not it's your personal phone. And so I'm really trying to look at the bigger picture here, and the devices is the first step to get us to that level. So I wanted to bring that back also. Just remember that information can be requested. And do we really want people going through our personal email accounts, because all of our stuff should be sent through our regular email. So we're open for questions, myself and also Ms. Ariel.
Any questions to the left?
No questions, and I'm all in favor of this.
No, I think we save a lot of trees, and also I think it pays for itself because of all the paper that you waste, and also the toner and all that. So I'm in favor for it.
To my right.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea.
Just a question, because one of the things in the past with the emails was, it was a project to try to get your emails.
Yes.
And even if you did it right, half of the time you couldn't access it. And that's why I went to my personal email, because I never knew who was sending anything, because I try to get in and then, well, maybe something expired or whatever. Is it going to be easier than that?
Yeah, you'll be able to open your Outlook, and you'll have all your mails will come up. We'll get it set up for you. We're going to have it all set up. We do have a Sendio, a great firewall that is controlled here at the city, so you won't be getting junk email and, trips to, the Caribbean that are unsolicited, that kind of stuff. It'll just be specifically for your email.
Okay. The other question too was in terms of, because I do all my reading at home, and if I'm reading here, it's only because I'm following you guys, or I've written notes.
Right.
I will have the same access at home through my Wi-Fi, correct?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
You'll have a VPN to be able to come in, pull up the folder that we'll have logged everything into you, and we may be able to get everything done to you by Friday, hopefully a little bit earlier. And then you'll be able to write on it. You're going to have a tool just like this, like I'm going through writing on mine right now. I can write notes on here and just save it, and then you'll be able to bring it up and it'll be on the big screen. We're going to have a training for you guys
Perfect.
to go through
Yeah.
all of this before we just
Well,
throw them to you.
I used to have one at work,
Yeah.
but I had problems with it as well. So I ended up writing notes, separately.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's been a while ago, so I imagine that
Yeah.
we're much more modern now, yeah.
Technology is amazing. This is really a great tool. And as much as I use the iPad for our dispatch and stuff, I fell back to utilizing for this too with the writing on it. But I've gone back to the Surface because it's more efficient and it's just more accurate and it's easier to write notes on. So this is really a great tool.
Yeah. And then another thing in terms of, will we have, from my previous employment, anytime you give electronics to board members or personnel or whatever, it's critical that you have policies in place in terms of how to use it, when to use it, what you can and cannot do.
Right.
Perfect. And then my last question, well, it's actually not a question, but it's a comment. It gets a little bit more complicated with the phones. So when you do come back for that, because the issue with the phone is that then people have to carry 2 or 3 phones depending on what they're doing. So there is a tendency to use phones for, personal or whatever. So, I mean, that one, when it comes up to me, I got to really think about that one.
So we have just, with the new phone that we just got, and we're going to look at this option, there's a way to put 2 numbers and 2 different carriers on one phone.
Oh, wow.
So you would be able to, and then we'll have to work through this a little bit, and that's why I'm saying we need to work on a little bit. But right now I have FirstNet and my Verizon carrier on my one phone, because I would have 3 phones if I
Yeah,
did.
that's,
So right now, we're looking at potentially doing that, and then you'd be able to add your plan to that phone. So you'd be able to use a SIM card for your own plan, which goes on your own account, which you pay your own bill. And I just need clarification because it's on the same device, it's still not. I want to
Yeah,
make sure that it's still, obviously, it's not going to be a charge to us, but I want to make sure that that information is not requestable through the
yeah.
Information Act.
Well, and the reason with the phones, take your time, Because, I mean, we had an issue with the phones in terms of something as simple as, because the employee only had one phone, they were taking photos with it. So it was even the photos within the phone became a problem.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want to take my photos on my phone and
Yeah.
still, okay, thank you.
But again, I don't think that's as big as the tablet and the email one. I
Yeah.
think that one's
No,
gonna
that's
be-
why,
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying, take your time with the phone.
Okay, sounds
Check it
good.
all out.
Yep, will do.
All righty, entertain a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the purchase of the board director's tablets as staff has proposed.
I'll second that.
Got a first and a second. Can you do a vote?
Director Rhodes,
Yes?
Director Coe,
Yes.
Director Ishihara,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Elliott,
Yes.
Chairman Gish.
Yes. All right, with no other items on the agenda, we'll adjourn to January 17th, 2019, 7 o'clock here at City Hall.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can keep this one. I'll take the other one.
That was easy.